What's up, everybody? My name is Bimler, and today we're going to be talking about the new 21 Pilots album, Clancy. Now, for the past 6 years or so, my soul has been in turmoil. 2018's Trench is the album that got me into music. It was the first album that I really liked front to backing. It was the first album that really had me exploring any deeper lyrical themes or writing in songs at all. Even as I've gone into a lot more music and listened to a lot of its influences, it still manages to hold itself up as a monumental work for the band and their best, pretty inarguably. Though they were really the first band that I got into, all of their other projects, if they didn't already kind of suck, they kind of fell off over the years. But Trench has stayed great, which is why it hurt so much when in 2021 they dropped their worst project, Scaled and Icy. And I hate hating on this album because I feel like it's been done to death by this point. People have been saying for actual years how much of a disappointment it was. And you can tell this is even getting to the band in a lot of the songs off of this new album, Clancy. Now, I kind of foresaw this album being a bit more of a divisive one because of its promises to bring us back to Trench, which is generally considered their best sound and era, and not really being that long ago, but also coming right after Scaled and Icy. It's kind of hard to really satisfy everybody's expectations with an album like that. Thankfully, I actually think Clancy kind of did it. Mind you, even after some of the better singles had come out, namely Next Semester and Backslide, which themselves could go toe-to-toe with a lot of songs on Trench, in my opinion, I wasn't expecting Trench here. Trench, with its subtlety, was not going to be what this new flashy, very much in-your-face album was going to be, especially with the lead single Overcompensate being very upfront about its messaging, welcoming you back to Trench, sampling Bandito in a very on-the-nose way at the start of the song. The lines like, "If you can't see, I am Clancy," it's not hiding anything. So I figured this album was either going to be incredibly disorganized or in your face about the lore and kind of lack any musical substance otherwise. And I think we definitely got the former, albeit maybe not as much as I was expecting. I'm actually very pleasantly surprised with Clancy, and it's not even close to being as good as Trench. But it is good. I actually really like this album. I wasn't really the biggest fan of Overcompensate, because like I said before, it was kind of corny, overblown, but Next Semester won me over instantly with how fast and punchy it was, and Backslide is my favorite single out of the four. We're not really going to talk about the Craving single version. I don't really like it. I liked it at first, but the sound of it quickly wore off on me, as it sounds like the most generic song you could craft. But Backslide, oh my god. I love this song. Its messaging, its chorus hits so heavy. The music video, directed by the drummer Josh Dunn, is really well done, but the deep cuts didn't disappoint too much either. In fact, a lot of them matched the singles in terms of quality, at least Next Semester. Starting with a bit of a whiplash with Midwest Indigo and Routines in the Night, the former of which is a very fun, synth-driven song. I love this one. It keeps getting stuck in my head. I really appreciate the more fun vibes the band brings at points on this album. Routines in the Night, on the other hand, is very much more about Tyler exploring the depths of his head, bringing concepts like Dima and the Bishops and the Banditos into light through making metaphors about his own psyche and his mental problems. And I like how they explore it in this song. Also, the flow towards the middle of the track, the keeps coming around bit, is really cool. I like that. I think it adds a lot of spice to the track's flow. Vignette is a really compelling, anthemic song about addiction and drugs, and I think it's actually really good. And it's not quite as corny as you'd expect a 21 Pilots song about drug addiction to be. And then we have The Craving, Jenna's version. I briefly spoke on the single version of this track a little earlier. This version is much better. The acoustic touch of this track is so sweet. The sample at the start just kind of tugs at my heartstrings. And the way that Tyler's voice kind of sounds like it's cracking, like he's about to burst into tears mid-song, does add to the impact of the track. It's not my favorite on the album, but it is good, and I think it's definitely one of 21 Pilots' better sweet songs. It's followed up by pretty easily the worst cut on this album, Lavish. You'll find very few people defending this thing. But if you know what? Screw it. I think this track is really fun. I know it's bad, and I know it sucks. But come on, the whole got that penny loaf of squeak part is just, my friends and I have been quoting that since the album came out. I kind of like that it's here in a really weird way. It kind of shows the band indulging a bit on their personality, which is something that we don't really get on a serious album like Trench. However, it is another problem I have with this album. It's a bit disorganized. It doesn't really know whether it wants to be a lore-driven album, a 21 Pilots album, or a screw it, I'ma do what I want album. At this point in the track list, we've only had one song that directly ties into the lore, and that song was Overcompensate. You could draw connections to mental health on other songs up to this point, but none of them directly mention anything in the lore besides Overcompensate, and a lot of people would probably rightfully feel a little confused at this point. I know I did. Thankfully, the next track, Navigating, does bring us back in universe a little bit. The punchy guitar riffs, the start of the song in general is so good. I remember when I was first watching through all of the music videos with a friend of mine who's been at 21 Pilots with me since middle school. Hearing the start of this song, we went ballistic. It was so fun. And I know there's a lot of divided feelings on the chorus of this track with the I'm navigating. I think it's fantastic. We do hit a bit of a lull with Snapback and Oldie Station. The former feels like a weaker version of Backslide. The latter feels like a song that could have come off of Scaled and Icy. And though I actually really like the messaging on this song, sonically, it doesn't really do anything for me, and I kind of wish it did. However, we do close the album with, in my opinion, a pretty good 2-song run. At the risk of feeling dumb, is this kind of return to form, which you wouldn't expect me to like for 21 Pilots, considering their old form isn't great. However, I think this track actually executes it kind of well. The messaging on it is really good. It's about checking in on your friends, making sure they're doing okay, even if it means you might feel a little bit dumb. And that's a really good message to send. The sound on the track is a bit clunky, but overall, I do like this one. I think it's really good, and I love Tyler's vocals on the song as well. I think it's some of his best performances. And the closer, Paladin Straight, is one that has gathered a lot of conversation. It's 21 Pilots' longest song. It is the closer to this new album, which is supposed to end off the lore, and it doesn't really do that. In fact, it continues it in a way that I find, honestly, pretty corny. Not to spoil from this album, I'm assuming you've heard it, but if you haven't, listen to it. The ending of this song has the so few, so proud, so emotional part of it. I think that's corny. I think it's so on the nose and doesn't really do anything except get people to go, oh my goodness, there's more? We don't have more yet, so it kind of just feels like an empty cliffhanger. But the rest of the song is actually really sweet. I really enjoy the guitar and Tyler's very smooth vocals over it. A lot of the backing electronic elements of the song really give me a Mute Math vibe. You know, that old band of co-producer Paul Meany's. By the way, he did amazing on this album. Paul Meany, co-producer, Mute Math guy. I love him. I love his stuff. He produced Pierce the Veil's record from a little bit ago, The Jaws of Life, and that record is amazing. He also produced, Trench, so having him back on for this was really welcome, and I think he does a fantastic job. So, shoutouts to him. But all in all, I think this album was very mixed for me. I did enjoy it for pretty much its entire runtime, but it didn't necessarily blow my socks off at any point. It's definitely my second favorite 21 Pilots album. I think it does exceed all of their earlier work and definitely exceeds Scaled and Icy, but it doesn't exceed Trench, and I wasn't really expecting it to. So I guess in a nutshell, Clancy is exactly what I expected, and a little better. I'm definitely going to give this thing a B. Just a straight up B. I like it. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below if you've heard it. If not, go give the album a listen, and then tell me what you think. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and hit the notification bell to be notified when that more comes. I figured it would be fitting to do my first video on the channel on the first band that I ever really got into, especially with the new release of the album. So, yeah, over a while in the future, I'm going to be trying to sparse new music listens with old music listens and kind of fill out a bit of a video catalog of me just reviewing music. I really wanted to talk about it for a while. I've been a big music head, and I want to sort of express that in my own way. But yeah, that's all from me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.